The night was dark and heavy rain fell on the small wooden house. The storm made the windows shake and thunder rolled across the hills. Inside the house, a man sat alone. His name was Daniel. He lived a quiet life far away from the city. He liked silence, books, and his warm fire. He never expected anything strange to happen here. But that night, everything changed. At first, Daniel thought it was only the sound of the storm, but soon he heard something else, soft scratching at the door. It was faint, like someone weakly trying to knock. He froze. Out here, nobody ever came at night. He listened carefully. The scratching came again, followed by a faint cry. It was not the wind. It was not an animal. It sounded like a voice. Daniel stood up, heart beating fast. Slowly, he walked to the door. The storm howled louder as if warning him not to open it. But curiosity pushed him forward. With a deep breath, he pulled the door open. There, standing in the rain, was a girl, but she was not human. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark like silver light under her wet clothes. Her eyes were large, shining with a strange blue fire. She looked young, fragile, and frightened. She shivered as the cold rain poured over her. "Please," she whispered in broken words. "Help me." Daniel could not believe his eyes. He had heard stories of aliens, but he never thought he would meet one. His first thought was fear. What if she was dangerous? What if someone was chasing her? But then he looked again. She was trembling. She looked weak, almost ready to collapse. His fear turned into pity. Without thinking more, Daniel reached out his hand. "Come inside," he said. The alien girl stepped inside slowly, dripping water onto the wooden floor. He closed the door and locked it. For a moment, the storm outside seemed far away. She stood silently, eyes darting around the room. Her breathing was heavy. Daniel noticed the strange marks glowing on her neck and arms. They pulsed softly, as if alive. He had never seen anything like it. "You're safe now," Daniel said carefully. "I won't hurt you." She tried to speak, but her voice broke. "Danger, outside." "They find me." Her words were simple, but full of fear. Daniel gave her a blanket and guided her to sit near the fire. She sat quietly, watching the flames. For a while, neither of them spoke. Daniel's mind was racing. Who was she? Why was she here? Was someone looking for her? He wanted to ask, but he could see she was too tired. He decided to wait. As the hours passed, the storm outside grew stronger. Thunder shook the house, but inside the fire burned warm. The alien girl slowly relaxed, her eyes closing. She leaned against the chair, falling into sleep. Daniel sat across from her, still watching carefully. He told himself he had only done what any decent person would do. She was lost, frightened, and alone. He could not just leave her in the rain. Yet deep inside, he felt uneasy. Something about her glowing skin and strange markings made him wonder if he had invited trouble into his home. Suddenly, he noticed something unusual. As she slept, the glowing marks on her skin grew brighter. They pulsed like the rhythm of a heartbeat. At the same time, a strange hum filled the room, soft but clear. Daniel leaned closer, frowning. Her breathing quickened and her body tensed as if in pain. She whispered in her sleep, words he could not understand. Her voice sounded almost like chanting. Then for a second, her eyes opened. They glowed bright blue. Daniel gasped and stepped back. But before he could react, she closed her eyes again and went still. The humming stopped. The marks faded to a soft glow. She looked peaceful, as if nothing had happened. Daniel stood there, shaken. He had no idea what he had just seen. He told himself it was nothing, maybe just part of her alien body. But deep down, he knew it meant something. Something important. The storm outside began to fade. Slowly, silence returned to the hills. Daniel sat down again, still watching the alien girl. She was asleep, safe for now, but the memory of her glowing eyes haunted him. He whispered to himself, "What have I done?" As he closed his eyes for rest, one thought would not leave his mind. He had taken in a stranger. A girl from another world, and he did not know the danger that followed her, or the secret season that was already coming closer. The next morning, the storm had passed. The sky outside was gray but quiet. Daniel woke up to the sound of soft movements in his kitchen. At first, he thought it was only the wind, but when he opened his eyes, he saw the alien girl. She was standing near the shelves, touching the cups and plates with careful fingers. Her head tilted as if she did not understand what these simple objects were. She lifted a spoon, studying her reflection in the metal. When she noticed Daniel watching, she froze like a child caught doing something wrong. Daniel sat up. "It's all right," he said gently. "You can look." She relaxed a little and placed the spoon back. Her eyes glowed faintly in the morning light. Daniel realized something. She was curious but also alert. Every time the floor creaked or the house made a sound, she turned her head sharply as if expecting danger. "Hungry?" Daniel asked. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Daniel cooked eggs and bread. Simple food. When he placed the plate in front of her, she studied it first. Then with awkward hands, she copied him, eating slowly. The way she tasted the food made Daniel wonder if she had never eaten human meals before. After breakfast, Daniel finally asked, "What's your name?" She lowered her eyes. "Lyra," she said softly. "Lyra," Daniel repeated. The name felt strange on his tongue, but also beautiful. He wanted to ask her more, but she looked away. "No more questions," she whispered. "Not safe." Daniel frowned. Not safe? What did she mean? That day passed slowly. Lyra stayed inside the house, sitting near the fire or staring at the window. She did not speak much, but Daniel noticed how her eyes followed everything carefully. She studied the trees, the birds outside, and even Daniel himself. At night, when Daniel thought she was asleep, he heard footsteps again. Quiet, careful steps moving across the wooden floor. He opened his eyes just enough to see. Lyra was awake. She moved around the room, touching books, candles, and old photographs. She picked up one picture of Daniel's family. She stared at it for a long time, her glowing fingers tracing the faces. Then she whispered something in her own language, a soft sound that Daniel could not understand. He wanted to ask her what she said, but he stayed silent, pretending to sleep. Later that night, Daniel woke again. He felt something strange, like the air itself was humming. He looked around. The glow on Lyra's skin was brighter than before. The marks on her arms pulsed slowly, as if alive. She sat near the fire, staring into the flames. "Lyra?" Daniel whispered. She turned to him. For a moment, her eyes glowed bright blue. It was not like before. It was stronger, sharper. Daniel's chest tightened. He felt both fear and fascination. Then she blinked, and the glow faded. She lowered her head, ashamed. "Sorry," she whispered. "What's happening to you?" Daniel asked softly, her voice shook. "Season comes and soon. You not understand." Daniel leaned forward. "Then explain, please," but she shook her head. "Too dangerous, you must not touch me." Her words sent a chill through him. Why not touch her? What would happen? He wanted to press for answers, but she stood up and moved away, ending the conversation. The following evening, something even stranger happened. Daniel stepped outside to gather wood. As he walked back toward the house, he noticed the animals. The neighbor's dog, usually quiet, barked furiously in the distance. Birds circled above the trees, restless. Even the forest felt alive with tension. When Daniel entered the house, he saw Lyra standing in the middle of the room, eyes glowing faintly. The dog outside barked louder, almost like it was warning him. Daniel's hands tightened on the wood. "They react to you, don't they?" he asked. Lyra turned toward him, sadness in her face. "They feel it. The change, I cannot stop it." Daniel dropped the wood on the floor. "What change?" She shook her head, refusing to explain. Instead, she wrapped herself in the blanket and sat in the corner, silent. That night, Daniel barely slept. Every sound made him alert. The creak of the floorboards, the crack of the fire, even Lyra's breathing. He told himself he was safe. She looked weak, fragile. But deep inside, something whispered that danger was near. At midnight, Daniel woke to a faint noise. A whisper. He sat up and listened. Lyra was speaking again in her strange language. Her voice was low, almost like chanting. The glowing marks on her arms and neck pulsed in rhythm with her words. Daniel's skin prickled. He watched as her body trembled. She looked both in pain and in trance. "Lyra?" he called softly. Her eyes snapped open. This time they glowed brighter than ever before. The blue light filled the room. Daniel stumbled back, fear gripping him. Lyra gasped, holding her head. Then suddenly the glow faded. She fell to the floor, unconscious. Daniel rushed to her side, shaking her gently. "Lyra, wake up!" After a few moments, her eyes opened weakly. She looked at him, tears in her glowing eyes. "It begins," she whispered. Daniel froze. He had no idea what she meant. But the fear in her voice was real. He had sheltered her, but he was beginning to understand this was no ordinary guest. Something dangerous was coming, and he was trapped inside it with her. The morning after Lyra's collapse, Daniel could not shake her words. "It begins." What had she meant? He made breakfast, but his hands trembled. Every time he looked at her, questions filled his mind. Lyra sat silently by the fire. Her skin still glowed faintly, the strange marks pulsing under her skin. She avoided his eyes as if ashamed. When he tried to ask again, she only shook her head. "Daniel," she whispered finally, "you should not keep me here. It is not safe. For you." But Daniel refused. "I will not throw you out. Not when you're weak." Her eyes softened, but fear still shadowed her face. That afternoon, Daniel went outside to chop wood. As the axe struck, he noticed something strange. The forest was unusually quiet. The usual bird songs were gone. The neighbor's dog far in the valley barked and then fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. He turned back toward the house uneasy. When he stepped inside, he froze. Lyra was standing in the middle of the room, her hands raised. Blue light pulsed between her fingers, small sparks dancing like fireflies. Her eyes were closed, her face tense with effort. "Lyra!" Daniel shouted. She gasped, dropping her hands. The light vanished instantly. She looked at him with fear. "You were not supposed to see." "What was that?" Daniel demanded. She lowered her gaze. "The change grows." Daniel clenched his fists. "You have to tell me what is happening." But she only whispered, "Not yet. Soon you will see." Too soon. That night Daniel could not sleep. He lay awake, listening. Around midnight he heard it again, the humming sound in the air. It came from Lyra's room. He pushed the door open slightly. Lyra was on the floor, curled in pain. Her body shook as the glowing marks spread wider across her skin. They were brighter now, covering her arms, her neck, even her face. Her breathing was heavy, her whispers frantic. Daniel rushed forward but remembered her warning. "You must not touch me." He stopped, helpless. "Lyra, what's happening to you?" he asked desperately. She looked at him through glowing eyes. "The season. My people call it the burning season. When it comes, we cannot control ourselves." Daniel's heart pounded. "What does it mean for you?" "For me?" Her answer was chilling. "If I lose control, I can hurt or kill. That is why I ran. That is why they hunt me." The truth hit Daniel like ice. She wasn't just a refugee. She was dangerous. Not because she wanted to be, but because of what her body was turning into. The following day, the signs spread beyond the house. When Daniel went to fetch water, he found dead birds lying near the path. Their bodies were not torn, not eaten. They simply looked burned, as if a strange energy had passed through them. He returned quickly, his chest tight. When he entered, Lyra was staring at her hands, horrified. "I did not mean," she whispered. "It just happens. The season takes more each day." Daniel's first instinct was to run, to leave her before it was too late. But when he looked at her trembling face, his heart softened. She was suffering. She needed help, not abandonment. "You're not alone," Daniel said firmly. "We'll face this together." She shook her head. "You do not understand, my people. When one like me enters the burning season, others come. They smell it. They follow. They will find me soon." Daniel's breath caught. "Others more like you?" "Yes," she whispered, eyes full of fear. "And they will not be kind." That evening, the tension grew worse. Daniel sat by the window, watching the fading light. In the distance, strange lights flickered in the forest. Blue glows moving between the trees. His stomach twisted, he turned quickly. "Lyra, there's something out there." Her eyes widened. She rushed to the window. When she saw the lights, she stepped back, trembling. "They have come," she whispered. Daniel grabbed his coat. "Who?" "My people, hunters. They will take me. Or kill me. And you? They will not spare." Before Daniel could speak, the barking of dogs echoed from the valley again. Only this time the barking turned to painful yelps, then silence. Lyra covered her mouth. Tears glowed in her eyes. "It is starting. I cannot stop it. I should not be here." Daniel put a hand on the table to steady himself. His heart raced. He had wanted a quiet life, far from trouble. But now trouble had come to his very door. That night, sleep was impossible. Every sound outside felt sharper, heavier. Daniel heard footsteps in the forest. Once he thought he saw a shadow move past the window, tall and thin, glowing faintly like Lyra. Inside, Lyra sat motionless by the fire, hugging her knees. Her skin glowed brighter than ever. The room pulsed with faint blue light. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I told you not to shelter me, but you did, and now you are part of it." Daniel stared at her. He wanted to deny it, to believe this was all just a nightmare, but deep down he knew the truth. Something had begun and there was no turning back. Night came quickly, and with it, silence. The forest was too quiet, as if all living things were holding their breath. Daniel sat near the fire, his axe leaning against the wall. His heart was heavy with dread. Every hour he glanced at Lyra, waiting for something he could not name but feared deeply. Lyra sat in the corner, wrapped in the blanket. Her glowing marks were brighter now, spreading across her skin like rivers of light. Her eyes flickered open and shut, glowing blue with every breath. She looked tired, yet restless, as if something inside her fought to get out. "Daniel," she whispered suddenly, her voice shaking. "If I lose control, you must not stay close. You must run." Daniel shook his head. "I won't leave you." "You don't understand," she said, pressing her glowing hands against the floor. "The burning season is not like sickness. It is fire inside me. It will break everything." Before Daniel could reply, the air changed. A low hum filled the room, rattling the wooden walls. The fire in the hearth flickered violently, then went out, leaving only the strange blue glow of Lyra's body. Daniel stood, gripping the axe. "Lyra?" She gasped and doubled over, clutching her chest. Her skin flared with light and her scream tore through the silence. The floor shook beneath Daniel's feet. "Stay back!" she cried, her voice deeper, almost inhuman. Daniel froze, torn between fear and the urge to help. Her body was twisting in pain, her glowing marks spreading across her face and arms like burning veins. Sparks of blue light cracked through the air around her. The house shook as if caught in an earthquake. Plates fell from shelves, crashing to the floor. Daniel stumbled back but kept his eyes locked on her. Lyra raised her head, and for the first time, Daniel saw her fully transformed. Her eyes glowed like two burning stars. Her skin shimmered with silver light. Her teeth were sharp, her movements quick and animal-like. But what terrified him most was the raw power pouring from her body, waves of energy that made the air vibrate. She stood suddenly, too fast for human eyes. The blanket fell away and she staggered toward him, hands glowing like fire. Daniel lifted the axe instinctively. "Stop!" For a moment she froze. Her glowing eyes locked on him. She panted heavily, her chest rising and falling like a wild creature. Her voice came out broken, caught between her alien tongue and human words. "Daniel, run!" Then she collapsed to her knees, slamming her glowing hands onto the wooden floor. Blue fire spread across the boards, burning in strange patterns. Daniel's fear turned into action. He grabbed a bucket of water and threw it at the flames, but the water hissed uselessly. The light was not normal fire. It was something else, something alive. The room filled with the smell of ozone, sharp and metallic. Daniel's skin prickled as if needles pressed against him. He could hardly breathe. "Fight it, Lyra," he shouted. "You can control this." She lifted her head, tears glowing on her face. For a moment, the fire dimmed, but then her body jerked violently, and a wave of energy blasted outward. Daniel was thrown against the wall, the axe clattering from his hands. When he looked up, he saw Lyra standing again, her eyes wild. She was no longer herself. She hissed, her voice strange and sharp. She stepped toward him, movements quick, predatory. Daniel's pulse hammered. He scrambled for the axe, gripping it tightly. His mind screamed to run, but his feet stayed firm. "Lyra, it's me," he shouted. "You know me?" For a heartbeat, she paused. Her glowing eyes flickered, recognition fighting with instinct. She let out a strangled cry, as if at war with herself. Daniel lowered the axe slightly. "You're not alone. I won't leave you." The blue fire around her hands sputtered, weakening. She clutched her head, falling to her knees once more. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Help me." Daniel dropped the axe and rushed forward despite her warning. He knelt beside her, resisting the instinct to touch her glowing skin. "You're strong enough," he said softly. "You can fight this. Don't let it take you." For a moment the room grew still. The humming stopped. The blue fire dimmed. Lyra's breathing slowed and the glow in her eyes softened. Then she collapsed fully, unconscious. Daniel sat there, heart pounding, staring at her motionless form. He reached out, his hand hovering just above her glowing arm, but he remembered her words. You must not touch me. He pulled back. The fire in the hearth slowly reignited, though Daniel hadn't touched it. The room returned to its normal state, as if nothing had happened. But Daniel knew everything had changed. He sat against the wall, shaking. He had just seen power beyond anything human. If Lyra could not control it, she could destroy him, the house, maybe even the entire valley. And yet she had fought to stop herself. Somewhere inside that glowing creature, she was still Lyra, the frightened girl who had knocked on his door. Daniel closed his eyes, exhausted. He knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The first transformation had come. The next would be worse. Outside in the forest, blue lights flickered once more between the trees. Shadows moved silently closer. The hunters were watching. The forest was dark, but not silent anymore. Strange. Voices echoed between the trees, low and sharp, unlike human speech. Blue lights flickered, moving like lanterns in the distance. Daniel stood at the window, watching them approach. His chest tightened. The hunters had arrived. Behind him, Lyra stirred. She lay on the floor, weak after her violent transformation. Her glowing marks had dimmed, but her breathing was heavy. Daniel knelt beside her. "They're here, aren't they?" he whispered. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faint blue. "Yes. They follow the scent of the burning season. They will not stop until I am taken." Daniel swallowed hard. "Taken where?" Her voice broke. "To the nest. To be used. Or destroyed. I escaped once. I cannot go back." Daniel looked toward the forest again. The lights were closer now. The hunters moved fast. He had little time. "Can you walk?" he asked. Lyra struggled to sit, trembling. "I can try." Daniel grabbed his coat and a small bag of food. He helped her to her feet. She leaned heavily on him, her body warm, almost burning. Together they stepped out into the night. The forest air was cold, heavy with mist. Every branch snapped loudly under Daniel's boots. He tried to move quickly, guiding Lyra along the narrow path, but she slowed with every step. Behind them, the hunters' voices grew louder. Strange calls echoed, followed by sharp clicking sounds. Daniel's skin prickled with fear. "Hurry," he whispered. Lyra's glowing eyes darted around the trees. "They are close. Too close." Suddenly, a beam of blue light cut across the forest, striking a tree. The bark exploded, sending sparks into the night. Daniel pulled Lyra down behind a fallen log. The hunters were here. They crouched in silence. Daniel could hear footsteps, light but fast, circling. Shadows moved between the trees. He held his breath, gripping the axe he had carried with him. One of the hunters came into view. Daniel's heart stopped. The creature was tall, taller than any man, with long limbs and glowing markings like Lyra's. Its eyes burned blue in the dark. It carried a spear-like weapon that hummed with energy. The hunter paused, sniffing the air. Then its head turned directly toward their hiding place. Daniel tensed. He raised the axe slightly, ready to strike if it found them. But before the hunter could move closer, Lyra touched Daniel's arm. Her glowing fingers trembled. "No fight," she whispered. "Not yet." Daniel gritted his teeth but nodded. The hunter stepped forward, searching. Then a call echoed from deeper in the forest, and the creature turned away, vanishing into the mist. Daniel exhaled slowly. "We can't keep running like this," he said. Lyra's eyes were full of fear. "They will track me until the season ends. No human can escape them." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we'll prove them wrong." Hours passed as they moved through the forest. Every step was a battle against exhaustion. Lyra grew weaker, her body trembling with the heat of the season. Daniel supported her as best he could, though his own strength began to fail. At dawn, they reached an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The roof sagged and vines grew through the cracks, but it was shelter. Daniel helped Lyra inside, lowering her onto a broken bed. She closed her eyes, breathing heavily. Her glowing marks pulsed faster than before. Daniel sat beside her, his axe across his knees. He knew they were not safe. The hunters would find them soon. "Why are they so desperate to take you?" he asked quietly. Her voice was faint, but her words cut deep. "Because during the burning season, my power is strongest. They believe I can be used as a weapon. They want control. But if they cannot control me, they will end me." Daniel's hands clenched. "That's why you ran." She nodded weakly. "I wanted to choose my own fate, even if it meant death." Daniel looked at her, and for the first time, he understood the weight she carried. She wasn't just dangerous. She was hunted because of what she represented. A weapon, a prisoner, a threat, and now she was his responsibility. That night, the hunters found them again. Daniel woke to the sound of breaking wood. The cabin shook as heavy steps surrounded it. Blue light shone through the cracks in the walls. Lyra sat up, fear in her glowing eyes. "They are here." Daniel gripped the axe tighter. His heart thundered in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. The door burst open, splintering under the force of a hunter's strike. The tall figure stepped inside, weapon raised, eyes glowing like fire. Daniel stood between it and Lyra. "You'll have to go through me first," he said, voice steady despite his fear. The hunter tilted its head, studying him. Then it spoke in a strange, broken version of human language. "Human, protect her?" "Yes," Daniel said firmly. The hunter let out a low growl, its markings flaring brighter. "Foolish." It stepped forward, but before it could strike, Lyra cried out. Her body erupted with blue fire, filling the cabin with light. The hunter staggered back, shielding its eyes. Daniel turned, stunned. Lyra stood tall, her glowing body burning brighter than ever. For a moment, she looked like pure energy. "Leave us!" she shouted, her voice booming with power. The hunter roared, retreating into the night. The others outside called in confusion. The forest shook with their cries. Lyra collapsed again, falling into Daniel's arms. He held her, his heart racing. The hunters would return, but tonight, they had survived. The cabin was silent after the hunters fled, but Daniel knew it was not over. Lyra lay weak in his arms, her glowing marks dim but still alive with heat. She had used too much energy to push the hunter back. "We can't stay here," Daniel whispered. But before he could move, the sound of footsteps filled the forest again. Many footsteps, heavier this time. The hunters had regrouped. Daniel grabbed his axe and stood, but the walls of the cabin cracked open as bright blue light cut through the wood. Smoke filled the air. In seconds, hunters surrounded the cabin from every side. The door shattered. 3 tall figures stepped in, their glowing eyes fixed on Daniel and Lyra. One of them carried a long staff that hummed like thunder. Daniel raised the axe, ready to fight. The tallest hunter spoke in broken human speech. "Human, you protect the burning one." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Her name is Lyra." The hunter tilted its head. "Lyra, dangerous. She will kill. You must give her." Daniel's grip on the axe tightened. "No," the hunter's markings flared. "Then you die." Before Daniel could swing, a blast of blue energy hit him. His body jerked as pain surged through him. The axe fell from his hand. He collapsed to the floor, gasping. When Daniel opened his eyes, he was outside in the forest. His wrists were bound with glowing ropes, his back pressed against a tree. Lyra was nowhere in sight. The hunters stood around him, their tall frames glowing like lanterns in the mist. The leader stepped closer, its blue eyes burning. "She is not yours," the hunter said coldly. "She is ours. She is weapon. She belongs to the nest." Daniel spat blood onto the ground. "She's not a weapon, she's just a girl trying to survive." The hunter's markings pulsed brighter. "You lie to yourself. The burning season will destroy. Already her power kills the land. Already she burns inside. She cannot stop it." Daniel's chest ached with fear and anger. "Then teach her control. Don't treat her like a monster." The hunter leaned closer, its voice dropped low. Control is not possible. We have tried. Always. It ends with death. Daniel's eyes widened. Always? The hunter nodded. She is danger. And you, human, are fool to protect. The hunters dragged Daniel through the forest. His feet scraped the ground, his body weak but his mind racing. He had to find a way to reach Lyra. At last they stopped in a wide clearing. In the center was Lyra, bound by glowing chains that pinned her to the ground. Her skin shimmered with light, her eyes half closed in pain. "Daniel," she cried when she saw him. He struggled against the ropes, but the energy burned his skin. The leader raised its staff. "We end her now before the burning spreads." Daniel's heart pounded. "No." The hunter turned its glowing eyes on him. "You care for her. Why?" Daniel's voice shook, but he forced the words out. "Because she's more than your fear. She's more than this season. She trusted me when she had no one. And I won't let you kill her." The hunters murmured in their strange tongue. The leader studied him in silence. Finally it spoke. "Human, we give you choice. Leave her, and we let you live. Stay, and you die with her." Daniel's chest heaved. He looked at Lyra, her glowing eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, go," she whispered weakly. "Please, save yourself." He shook his head. "No, I don't run from friends." The leader's markings flared angrily. "You choose death." The hunters raised their weapons. Blue light filled the clearing. Daniel closed his eyes, expecting the end. But before the strike came, the ground shook violently. A wave of energy burst from Lyra's body, shattering the chains that held her. The hunters were thrown back, their weapons flickering. Lyra stood tall, her body glowing like fire. Her voice boomed through the trees. "Enough!" The hunters staggered, shielding their eyes. Daniel fell to the ground as the ropes around him dissolved. He crawled to Lyra's side. She looked at him with glowing eyes, trembling with power. "You stayed," she whispered. Daniel nodded. "I told you. I won't leave." She smiled faintly, then turned to the hunters. "You fear me?" "But he does not." "That is why I will not be yours," the hunters roared, but they did not attack again. For the first time, they hesitated. They had seen humans before, but none who stood against them this way. The leader lowered its weapon slowly. Its glowing eyes studied Daniel, then Lyra. "This human makes you strong," it said. "Stronger than us, strange." Daniel helped Lyra to stand. She leaned against him, her light dimming but steady. The hunters stepped back into the shadows. Their voices echoed as they vanished into the mist. Daniel and Lyra were alone again, but Daniel knew it was not over. The hunters would return, and the burning season was only growing stronger. He looked at Lyra. "We'll face it together. No matter what comes." Lyra's glowing eyes softened. For the first time, she believed him. The forest was silent after the hunters vanished. Daniel stood with Lyra, her body leaning against him, her glow faint but restless. He could feel the heat radiating from her skin, stronger with every breath. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling, "it's not over. The burning, it rises again, stronger than before. I can't stop it." Daniel tightened his grip on her shoulders. "You can. You have to." She shook her head, tears glowing on her cheeks. "No one survives this season. My people know it. That is why they came. I will burn, and you will burn with me." Daniel's chest tightened, but he refused to let fear win. "Then let's prove them wrong. You are not alone anymore." Hours passed. The night grew darker, heavier. Strange winds moved through the trees, carrying sparks of blue light. The forest seemed alive with tension. Lyra's glow brightened until it lit the clearing like a lantern. She fell to her knees, clutching her head. Her scream shook the air. Daniel knelt beside her. "Lyra!" Her body erupted with blue fire. The ground cracked beneath her, trees bending away from the force. Energy waves rolled out in every direction. Daniel was thrown back, his body slamming into the dirt. When he looked up, he saw her standing in the center of the storm. Her eyes glowed like suns, her body burning brighter than the fire around her. She no longer looked human at all. She was pure light, pure power. The hunter's warning echoed in his head. Always it ends with death. Daniel forced himself to his feet. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he stepped forward. Lyra, listen to me, he shouted over the roar of the energy. She turned her glowing eyes toward him. For a moment there was no recognition, only instinct, wild and violent. The ground shook as she raised her hands. Energy gathered, ready to strike. Daniel's heart pounded, but he did not move. It's me, Daniel. You're stronger than this season. You're stronger than them. Don't let it take you. Her scream tore through the forest. A blast of energy shot toward him. Daniel braced for death, but at the last second the fire stopped inches from his chest. Lyra's glowing hands trembled. Her eyes flickered. For the first time she hesitated. Daniel stepped closer, his voice steady despite the storm. You're not a weapon. You're not a monster. You're Lyra. And I'm not leaving you. Ever. The energy around her flickered, weakening. Her scream turned into a sob. She fell to her knees again, shaking violently. Daniel rushed forward. Ignoring her warning, he placed his hands on her shoulders. Her skin burned like fire, but he held on. Fight it, he whispered in her ear. You're not alone. I'm here. I'll always be here. Lyra's body trembled. The blue fire surged one last time, then cracked apart like broken glass. The glow faded, scattering into the night. She collapsed against Daniel, unconscious but alive. The forest grew silent again. Daniel held her tightly, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion. The ground was scorched around them, trees blackened by her power. But she had not destroyed him. She had chosen him over the season. Footsteps echoed in the distance. Daniel looked up. The hunters had returned, standing at the edge of the clearing. They did not attack. They only stared. The leader's glowing eyes narrowed. Impossible. She should not live. You should not live, Daniel glared back. But we do. The hunters were silent. Finally, the leader lowered its weapon. Human courage changes her. Strange. We will not take her. Not now. The hunters melted into the shadows, leaving Daniel and Lyra alone. As dawn broke, Daniel carried Lyra back to his house. She stirred weakly, her glow faint but no longer burning. Daniel, she whispered. I'm here, he said softly. You should have run, she murmured. Why didn't you? Daniel smiled faintly. Because that's not what humans do. Not when someone needs us, her eyes softened. For the first time, peace crossed her face. She closed her eyes and rested in his arms. The world outside was still dangerous. The season was not yet over and the hunters could return. But Daniel no longer felt helpless. He had faced fire, death, and fear, and he had stood firm. As he laid Lyra gently on the bed, he whispered to himself, This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. Outside, the forest was quiet again, but the memory of blue light lingered in the air. Humanity had proven something that night, that courage and kindness could stand even against the fire of another world. And for the first time, Lyra's dangerous season had not ended in death. It had ended in hope.